like a Hellcat.
Hello and welcome back to the channel where once again it's time for another issue of Combat Patrol. Today we're on issue 17 because we didn't have an issue last week as it was Christmas Day. So this issue is the start of our second unit of Termagants, and it says the magazine will cover first founding chapters, Leviathan, and command points. Over the page then it tells us how to make our Termagants again, which is a bit odd because we've already had this. Unless these are actually different models, but to my knowledge they're not. I'm pretty sure they're just exactly the same models, and it shows us how to make them over 2 pages. Before we go on to Life in the Imperium, this is Read Section A, Imperium Part 11. True happiness stems only from duty. This carries on over the page before we go on to Death in the Imperium. This is again Read Section A, Imperium Part 12. Deep in a hive, a scavenger hunts down lost servo skulls for scrap. And it tells you what a servo skull is at the bottom of the page. That carries on for a little bit over onto the next page with a big piece of artwork before we go on to first founding chapters. This is Read Part B, Space Marines Part 11. There are hundreds of Space Marine chapters, but all of them can trace their lineage to the original legions, from the Ultramarines to the Dark Angels. These first founding chapters are legendary. That carries on over the page where we're given 9 of the logos before we go on to Hive Fleet Adaptions. Read Part C, Tyrannids, Section 13, and it shows us a Leviathan and a Behemoth. Over the page, it shows us a Hydra, a Kronos, a Kraken, and a Jormungandr. Before we go on to Tools of War, this is Read Part D, Section number... Fiction Part 5 is what I should say. Apologies for that. Manufactoriums on Imperium worlds are the lifeblood of their endless war against the alien, mutant, and heretic. That carries on over the page before we go on to Command Points and Stratagems, which is Play, Section B, Basics, Part 14. The right gambit at the right time can change the course of an entire battle, and then it explains Command Points and Stratagem breakdown. And it also gives you some cutout command tokens at the bottom of the page. Over the page then it shows us what a command reroll is and gives us 2 examples of a save reroll and a charge reroll before we go on to Scenario 13, Bring It Down. This is Section F, Scenarios 13. In this mission, you'll get to use the command reroll stratagem for the first time. Remember to generate command points at the beginning of each player's turn and to use the stratagem. And it tells us that we'll be using the 1 captain in Terminator armor, 5 Infernus Marines, 5 Terminators, and a Librarian, and they'll be facing off against the Psychophage, the Tyrannid Prime, 10 Termagants, 3 Von Ryan's Leapers, and the 5 Barb Gaunts. Like always, it tells us step by step the turn breakdown. The Tyrannids go first in this battle, and it gives us an example of moving and shooting and charging and fighting before we go over the page, and it breaks down the Space Marines' turns, and it gives you an example of moving and shooting and charging and fighting for them as well. Like always, the back page, or I should say inside the back page, gives us a little bit of storyline material for if it's a Space Marine victory or a Tyrannid's victory. It says we'll be getting a brand new battle mat coming up in the next few issues when we get the Eldari and the Chaos Space Marines as well. Before we turn over onto the back page to see that issue 18 comes with the rest of the Termagants, and then issue 19 comes with the impressive looking Parasite of Mortrex. So that is it for issue number 17. A pretty bog standard issue, if I'm going to be honest. Let me know your thoughts on issue 17, and of course having more Termagants in your force. And like always, I'll be back this time next week with another Combat Patrol video. Goodbye for now.